Why don't we jump right into our first topic for this week? Intel accuses AMD of misleading branding.
Yeah.
I had someone that was all like, Linus, you shouldn't pound on the desk, and I didn't remember until after I had already done it a couple times. So I did 2 more for good measure, and then that's it for the rest of the show. Intel posted a new marketing presentation depicting AMD as a sleazy car salesman and old-timey snake oil salesman. I tried my best to do voices that sounded like those things.
It's all right.
Before removing the slideshow from its website after it was spotted and commented on by several news outlets. Shout out WCCF Tech, who has made most of the presentation available, and in it, Intel dramatically presents 4, this is amazing, core truths. They're punny. That supposedly reveal misleading marketing on the part of AMD. Number 1. Ryzen processors use a chip architecture released in 2019, but the first number in the chip SKU refers to the year it was released, not the chip generation. Sorry, what? What are you even talking about? Anyway, hold on. Oh, hidden in plain sight. Okay, hold on. Okay, here. Okay, so here's a couple of slides from the thing. I don't know if there's no way this is an actual slide from the thing. I hadn't seen this part yet. Okay,
you
anyway,
see the snake oil one?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
The main part. Here we go. There we go. Yes. This is the main thing. Okay, so the number here indicates the year that it was released. Traditionally, this has been the generation number. And that's true of Intel, that's true of AMD, that's true of Nvidia, that's true of basically everybody. Here's the next number in AMD's sort of naming scheme, the market segment. So 1 is Athlon Silver, 2 is Athlon Gold, and then it goes Ryzen 3 more different, a couple of Ryzen 5s, and then a Ryzen 7. Then there's architecture. So 1 is Zen 1 and Zen Plus, 2 is Zen 2, 3 is Zen 3 and Zen 3 Plus, 4 is Zen 4, 5 is Zen 5, etc. 0 is feature isolation, lower model, upper model, and then U is your like TDP modifier, and this is still quite similar to what Intel does on their side. Yeah. And I mean, I think AMD basically just piggybacked on that so that it's pretty clear, you know, okay, a U is a low power SKU or whatever the case may be. I don't really, sorry, the bullet points are a little bit more challenging. Anyway, the point is, WCCF Tech has compared the presentation to Intel's 2019 real-world performance marketing push, where Intel used allegedly cherry-picked benchmarks to attack AMD, and meanwhile, PC Gamer has called back to Intel's 2015 Skylake architecture, which Intel rebadged twice and sold all the way from 6th to 10th gen.
Kind of epic.
There's actually... Okay, they've never actually rebranded those. Honestly, though, there are so many more examples of this, and my questions for Intel are multifold.
From all 3 brands. Nvidia's done it too.
Yeah, 1, why exactly did you choose to bring this up at all? And 2, why did you choose to bring it up now? To be clear, I agree. We actually had a video planned talking about exactly this. And not just about AMD, obviously, because AMD, Intel, Nvidia, basically everyone that I can think of has engaged in some kind of obfuscation in their product naming scheme.
Sleazy product
that
naming.
Makes it extremely difficult to figure out if what you're looking at is a truly new product or if it's something that has simply been rebadged in some way.
They also change schemes very often to the point where if you're someone who I would wager that the average computer person at this point in time is someone who's building and or upgrading their PC every 3 to 5 years. That's my assumption. Not less than that.
Yep.
Maybe more often, more than that. But probably about 5 years, throw a new GPU in there at least, something like that. Those type of people are going to have to redial in every time they do an upgrade.
Every
They're
single
probably not
time.
paying a lot of attention in between there.
Yep.
They're just, new modern game, slow, want new, better power.
And a lot of the time, the changes are just arbitrary.
They're fairly subtle and they're arbitrary enough that you can't really tell what's going on.
Why did we go from 2700K to 3770K? Why? I can't think of a good reason.
Nope.
Why did we go from, oh man, what was the one that, okay, Broadwell was sort of a weird one. We'll give them a pass on that one. Why did we go from, oh man, what was that super weird thing that they did back when they still had the HEDT products? Those were not super clearly denoted. I mean, okay, more recently, I think there was some justification for this, but Intel just rebadged their manufacturing processes. They were like, oh yeah, we're not going to call it however many nanometer anymore. We're just going to call it like Intel 7. And that's because our competitors are, you know, well, they're actually the ones who are not being entirely forthright about how large the individual elements of their manufacturing are, and we're actually more comparable to what they're branding as 7 nanometer anyway. So we're just gonna change it. What was it? I think 10 nanometer got renamed to Intel 7. I'm just gonna double check that. To Intel 7. Yes. Yeah, Intel 10 nanometer enhanced SuperFin was renamed to Intel 7, with the justification being that it was more similar in density to TSMC's 7 nanometer node. And that may actually be true. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I'm not a scientist. But in terms of rebranding things to change perception, Intel has done this as recently as, when was this? July of 2021. That was 2 years ago. And in that case, it was not about changing the perception with individual users. That was about changing the perception with shareholders, because there was this belief, however founded or unfounded it might be, that Intel was having trouble progressing through their manufacturing nodes. And so they were like, okay, I know it took us a really long time to go from 14 to 10, but like, look how fast we went from 10 to 7. All we did was change the name, boom, and now it's Intel 7. Let's go. I mean, not only that, but yeah, Floatplane Chat brings up that Intel's 14th gen processors are almost, I mean, this is one of those tough things to talk about, because I underestimated, talking to actual engineers at Intel, I underestimated how much work went into all the 14 nanometer pluses and squeezing those however small generational improvements out of them. So I don't want to be down on the actual engineers. What I do want to be down on is the branding that goes on around them. So yeah, Intel's 14th gen, probably some real work went into those from the engineering teams, and I want to give respect to them for that. But on the other hand, they shouldn't be called 14th gen. Instead of a 13900K, that should be a 13900. Well, I mean, the 14900K should just be 13900KS, because that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
But call it 13995K or 13950K or something like that. Treat it in your branding like the incremental, basically same generation improvement that it is. Like, it's, at least to Intel's credit, this time around, they didn't pull one of these refreshes and then tell us that we can't still use our existing motherboard, probably because they got a little bit surprised by it and they just weren't ready to push a new motherboard chipset or something like that. I actually don't know the reasoning for that, but you know, at least, hey, we can use our existing 12th gen, 13th gen motherboard for these 14th gen CPUs. But man, AMD's is really bad. I can't let any of this dunking on Intel distract from that AMD's naming scheme is awful. The fact that that first number just means
the year,
the recency with which it was released, when you could be buying a Zen 2 chip with that 7,000 at the beginning. Or, I mean, for all I know, they might keep recycling Zen 2 chips for, you know, entry-level products for years to come. So you could be buying a 9000 series processor with a, like, that uses Zen 2 architecture cores. That is awful and goes completely against the established naming schemes across basically the entire industry, except that AMD does actually have a precedent for this. Epic is named this way. They are 7,000.
I don't think I ever actually realized that.
Yeah, Epic is named this way. And shoot, I had another one in my mind that I could think of from someone other than AMD that actually worked kind of like this. Yeah, Yeah, I can't remember. But I don't like it. And the bigger problem is that AMD doesn't have any consistency across their product portfolios. They're not doing this on GPU. They're not doing this on desktop CPU. Okay. And AMD has been pulling these shenanigans with their mobile chips. One of the ones they did recently was they just, skipped a generation of numbers to make I forget if it was Zen 2 when they were shipping Zen 3 desktop, or if it was Zen 1 when they were shipping Zen 2 desktop. I can't remember. But basically, they were just like, this is like, another number ahead, or like they just played like catch up or something like that to bring them to parity. And then they fixed it later, but then now they're breaking it even more. Oh, man.
Do you feel like this is just like a bad reaction to the whole Moore's Law is dead thing?
I think that there's a degree of that. I think that marketing departments are trying to figure out how to make things seem shiny and new. I mean, I think I've talked before on the show about how one of the most effective ways for us to sell water bottles on the LTT store is to launch an exciting new screwdriver product. Marketing, just getting people the key in marketing is just getting people to look at your site, look at your brand, talk about your brand. It is almost a fixed function.
Sorry, keep going.
The number of people that you can drive to like page views on your website to sales. And it doesn't matter, as far as I can tell, it doesn't matter what those people came to the site for. It doesn't matter which page you land them on. It doesn't matter if they just came there out of like drinking Haterade somewhere and being like, I want to see how bad this site is. They just track. They just track together. So launching anything, it generates a news cycle. It generates press coverage from people who otherwise might not talk about you. It gets people, even if it's not something new, it gets people, individuals talking about it. And so it's one of the most effective things you can do. So marketing departments are always looking for these free W's where they don't have to come up with a really catchy campaign or slogan or jingle. They don't have to, give away some margin in the product by running a promotion. They just launch one. And that's another thing too. Speaking of margin in the product. So, okay, why didn't Intel just keep shipping 13th gen? Why don't they just keep 13th gen? Why bother with 14th gen? Well, I'll explain that. Because 13th gen is getting to the end of its life cycle, the end of its perceived relevancy. People expect a new CPU kind of every year. And so Intel is discounting it, doing bundles, on Black Friday or whatever. You could get deals. Well, here's the thing. Especially now in the age of price tracking browser extensions, there is an expectation that things get cheaper, especially in the computer industry where it's a race to zero, toward the end of their lifespan. And once things are cheaper, well, that's what they're worth. If you try to raise the price, you will immediately, and then you run a promo again, you will immediately be accused of jacking up the price so you can, pretend it's a promo. So what they do...
Which, unfortunately, is a thing that does happen. So there's 100%. A reason why people would accuse you on it, 100%. Even if it's not what you're doing.
So what you do is you take your old product and you bring down the price slowly, and then you kind of go, okay, that's, gone, or now it's at this new price point.
Making that.
But we have new product. It doesn't matter necessarily to the average user who just wants to build a gaming PC, and all they know is, I heard i9 is good for gaming, right? Oh, the new one, I'll just get that one. It's only $20 more. It's only $30 more. So that's just like a $30 ignorance tax that I don't blame the consumer for. I 100% blame the brand for. And this has become kind of a disjointed sort of rambling, rant. But realistically, I made far more sense than Intel did. So the low bar. Basically, if you're going to call this out, then Intel, here's my challenge to you. Introduce a naming scheme that's better. Go back to basics. What the f*** is going on with your server products, for example? What even is gold and silver? I do not understand their product naming scheme for those. They went from something that was relatively easy to understand, where they just had a generation and then they had numbers that kind of denoted where they fit within the product stack. And then they just brought in this gold, silver, platinum, and like the stupid thing about any naming scheme that includes good, better, best, or includes bronze, because technically bronze is part of it, bronze, silver, gold, is that no company is ever going to want to call any of their product third place.
Yeah.
So bronze functionally doesn't exist. Silver gets used very sparingly. Gold becomes just basic. And then platinum is reserved for, the actual high-end stuff.
It's the S and S plus and triple S of the...
And then as soon as they refresh something or bring in a new product, they have to create new tiers of platinum. So they have to, add new platinum XT, a platinum extreme, platinum plus. It's just exhausting. You already had it figured out. You had numbers.
Yeah.
Higher number, more better. Why did you confuse all of this? Diamond, Indium, thank you. Herp J1 over in Float Plane chat. And Top Gear 1224 says, my view is that you need laws to prevent this smoke and mirror stuff. But honestly, I don't know how you would do it. How do you even enforce that?
You'd have to have an individual law for like every single product category in existence.
And almost for every company.
And you'd need to update it consistently as technology changed and everything else.
You would need to deal too. You would need to deal with the fact that there are going to be legitimate reasons why they might have to change these naming schemes.
Yep.
Intel or AMD might say, hey, look, we have to refresh the 7970. Is that the one? Which one did they refresh the most times? The R9 290. We have to refresh the 290 again. We've already gone 295 and 297. We can't keep just splitting the difference between that and like 2 or 300 because we started with 9. So
that's what Microsoft blamed there being no Windows 9 on, right? Didn't they?
I don't remember.
Their internal version ran over Windows
8.9 or something.
So they ran into the 9s already, and they were like, "Uh-oh," which sounds like that must have been avoidable. But if I remember correctly, that was their explanation.
Didn't Microsoft figure that out way back in the Windows 3 era, 3.11?
Yeah.
Can't you just add another digit?
Keep going.
It's another thing.
I don't know. I think it was like a whole major versioning thing. Whatever. I don't remember all the news about it. It was a while ago, but like. Yeah, that was a yikes.
Yeah, maybe we do need to do this video because there's also other issues. I have railed against this before, but I get so frustrated with the way that Apple has led the charge in confusing product naming. And the thing that bothers me most about Apple, as usual, is that they know better. Mm-hmm. Apple names the iPhone very clearly, mostly. I mean, you start getting into Max and Max Plus and sort of all that stuff. It can get a little bit overwhelming. Remember, I'm talking from like a normie perspective. Obviously, if you're looking at reviews and you're comparing benchmarks, none of this matters because at the end of the day, it comes down to like FPS per dollar calculation. The model number is irrelevant. But what's frustrating about Apple is they know how to do this. iPhone 15, iPhone 12, and the higher number, generally speaking, is more processor, more better. With that said, actually, now that I think about it, the iPhone 15 Pro is the only one that got the new chip. The iPhone 15 non-Pro got a recycled chip from the last generation, and that's, now that I think of it, a perfect example of exactly what we're talking about here, where an established naming convention just went out the window the second that it became inconvenient for them to market their product by continuing to use it. So it's like, well, no, people need to know that this is the new one for this year, even if we didn't update some stuff about it. So, hey, there you go. Okay, apparently, 14 also had some, there was some precedent for this with the 14 generation as well. My point still stands that it has changed over the lifespan of the iPhone as a product line, but you go into their other product lines and it gets way more confusing. If you say Mac Pro, how am I supposed to have any idea what you're talking about?
Yeah.
There are at least 4 products that I can think of. You could be talking about the ancient cheese grater from like 2007, 2008.
The trash can.
You could be talking about the trash can from 2013, I think it was.
Something like that.
You could be talking about the updated cheese grater with an Intel processor from a few years back, or you could be talking about the new M2-based cheese grater, all of which are fundamentally different machines.
Very, very, very
If
different.
I were to search for something like Mac Pro GPU upgrade, the answer could be anything from slot in a card, as long as it has Apple compatible drivers, to, oh my God, get ready to do GPU surgery, assuming you could even find a replacement part or an upgrade.
It's just everything.
To
2006 to 2012, Mac Pro 2019 GPU Mac 2 Pro.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I did the exact search.
No, go back to your screen. Go back to your screen, because this is it. The crazy part is, look, spotted Tango there, upgrading the Mac Pro 5.1. Apple has. They have internal. Sorry, I did it again. They have internal numbering schemes for this stuff, but they don't unless you go into whatever it's called on a Mac, the system information tab thing. Unless you go there, it's not obvious. Like, you go on the product page and they're not like, yeah, this is the 5.2 rev of the hardware. It's so frustrating.
It's pretty annoying when you work in like customer service, customer support, IT style situations, when you're working with people that don't know what MacBook they have.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I don't blame
I bought
them
it
for
in
that.
this year. I'm like, okay, what time of year?
Yeah,
And they're
cool.
like,
It could be anything.
I don't really remember. I just know I bought it in that year. It's like, well.
And you know what? I've noticed there's a group of people that thinks that I hate Apple or something because I'm always ranting about them. The reason that I rant about Apple so much is because the rest of the industry just does whatever they do. The second Apple starts doing something annoying, I look at it and I go, shit. Because all of the copycat PC phone manufacturers are going to immediately start doing it. Like, look at stupid holes in displays. Notches. Like, why?
Yeah.
This was actually fine before. Look, Exhibit A. Hold on a second. I'm just going to make sure I have something non-incriminating up. The Galaxy Note 9, which has a tiny little bezel at the top, which is fine. I don't actually need a hole in my display. But Apple went and was like, yeah, I mean, this seems fine. I mean, I don't know, f*** it. And then everyone else was like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is okay now, because realistically, they're the big fish that everyone is chasing. So what are they gonna do if we do this? Buy an Apple? Got him. It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. Yeah, headphone jack. Yeah, okay. Floatplane chat. Real. Yeah. F to pay respect to the headphone. I used my headphone jack the other day, and I was like, wow. I forgot how much the AirPods Pro sound like shit. I plugged my IE600s in because I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be doing this for a while. I don't mind cable managing myself all, down my shirt like I used to. I plugged it in, put it in my pocket, and I was immediately jamming out. I'm like, yeah, this is so much better. I forgot about this. Oh, that sucks. People are saying F for the headphone jack.
Oh.
Headphone jack. I said it out loud, Luke. You were just tuned out because you don't care what I have to say.
No, but I'm still surprised people yeah, anyways.
Anyway.